loud. Yes, there we go. Hello. Right, so what we're doing this week, end of anatomy trains. So I've been looking at that as a theme. I don't, yoga's yoga, isn't it? But I think in terms of getting to know about your body, it's nice to know sometimes a little bit more about what goes on inside, and like, that we're not just bones and skin, but we're also like fascia. So fascia connects everything. If you've ever been to Body Worlds in London, you can see it. It's amazing. It's not a building I would ever want to stay in overnight, though, to be fair. It's just like, spooky. But yeah, you get to see fascia. And so fascia is connects your skin, tissues, it runs everywhere. Like when they first started looking at the body and muscles, they used to cut it out and didn't know it existed. And like certainly in my yoga trainings, they talk about like this muscle connects to that muscle, and tensor bicep and stuff. But it runs throughout everybody. So if you've ever kind of got any issues in the body, I know that I tend to lean to one side, and you can't just say, oh, it's one muscle. It's a chain of muscles. And this is what this is trying to kind of point out within people. So we've looked at the back line, we've looked at the front line, we looked at the side lines, and then this one is spiral. So we're going to do some really lovely twists. But if you can see on my picture, it starts at the outer edge of the foot, goes up the shin, outside edge of the leg, it goes into your little sit bones, and then it crisscrosses over your tummy. And then at the back, it's got two lovely little parallel lines. So in my feeling about this spiral line is that it does actually feed into the lateral. I'm just saying things now. But yeah, so we're going to do some lovely spinning, some lovely twists today to try and free up our breathing, try and create some balance within the body. There is the lecture done. Please lay it down and we'll start. So yeah, make yourself comfortable, do whatever you need, listen to what your body says when you first start the lesson. So obviously, if you feel you need to have your knees bent, have your knees bent. If you need to have your legs straight, have your legs straight. Tune into this body. I find the body a fascinating thing. One week, everything will be absolutely hunky-dory. Another week, it will be a bit weird and you're wondering why. So every day is a revelation. And acknowledging that your house is full of sounds, and your garden's full of sounds, and the world around you is full of sounds. There's always going to be something that interrupts you. I want you just to start to tune into something that makes you feel safe and comfortable. It could be that, just being in your own house. I mean, there's been one of the great things about lockdown, I think, is the sense that you do feel safe where you are. Sometimes if you go into a yoga studio, somebody will walk in and you'll be like, oh, who's that, or something. In your own house, it is just you've got your own little space. Settle into the hooks that make you feel safe. And then we can begin to observe the breath. And then beginning the exploration of this physical being that we are. So noticing what feels heavy on the floor. Maybe you think about the whole self, and then highlighting, spotlighting particular parts. Just take your time. Notice what springs to mind within the body. It could be sensation, could be the weight, might be even noticing what doesn't touch the floor. And then hooking back inwards to your breath. How is your breath today? And how would it feel to begin to expand your breath, to make it a larger breath, to maybe take a deeper breath? And it might not suit you today. That is perfectly fine. If you don't want to do anything like that, don't do it. But if it feels good, start to make that breath a little bit larger. And slowly exhaling, whichever breath you're doing, just take your time to think of letting everything begin to fade away and melt. So these first few movements we're going to do today, I'd like to approach them in a really gentle manner. And it just comes back to somatic learning. I've been going again through some trainings of it, and I think the gentler we are within the body, we are actually, it's not that we're doing less. I think actually you can get a lot more out of the body. I think the moment we start to stretch and stride, we can actually invoke the stretch reflex and the body starts to recoil. So these first few movements, do them in a soothing manner. Think about it being like almost like a little yawn. If you notice there's any pain, back away from that pain. I know sometimes you might think, cool, but that's kind of getting into where I want to be. But if you can kind of if you notice there's somewhere in the body that is beginning to hurt, don't go into it and kind of just back away from it and just maybe slow the movement down, be a little bit more gentler, and you might even find that little place that that's been bothering you in the body starts to play ball. I can see a dog just joined the lesson. Okay, so just beginning to set your feet inwards so you can feel them on the floor just in front of your hips. And start just to gently lean your tailbone forwards into the floor. You can feel that belt line behind us begin to float up. And then very, very gently begin just let go of that movement. Feel the back come into rest. Just notice what it feels like to let go of all the tension in the tummy and in the back. And then again, start that movement again, leaning that tailbone into the floor and notice how the muscles, the back begin to tighten. And then just begin to focus on letting that movement go and feeling those muscles, the back beginning to soften. And just doing that a few times. For some reason, my analogy this week has been that of Indiana Jones and visualizing him in a temple somewhere, and there's this amazing stone that he needs to get. And in one hand, he's got a bag of sand and he's got to try and sneak it off a pedestal, this little stone, without making the building collapse. So, in that same way, I want you just to imagine you want to sneak your spine, your hips onto the floor. So really, really gently does it. And then following that movement through the body, what do we feel elsewhere? So obviously we're rolling the tailbone. Do we feel any movement in the chest, in the breastbone, in the shoulders, in the head, in the neck? In the knees, do we feel any movement? In the hip joints, do we feel any movement? And then just settling down. I want to just kind of go the other way. You might have already started doing this already, but pressing your lobe back into the floor. My phone's decided to ring. I'm going to put it outside. No one rings me up, and they've decided to ring in the middle of the lesson. So you're just going to press your lower back into the floor. And just notice as you press your lower back into the floor, what tightens in your tummy. And I want you just to feel, just take your time, just slowly let go of that tension in the tummy. Just feel your spine settling into the floor. And then doing it again, pulling the navel into the spine to flatten the back into the floor. And then again, just slowly let that movement go. And we can just maybe that one more time. Pull the navel in, feeling those muscles tightening the tummy. Pull it a little bit deeper. How far can you pull those muscles into the spine? Can we feel the head beginning to tilt back? Maybe your buttocks feel a little bit lighter on the floor. Take your time just to slowly, as slow as you can, let that movement go. Feel how the body begins to spread and settle. And then just moving again back to that very first movement of rolling the tailbone into the floor, and begin to speed that movement up and just let the movements flow up through the body. Okay, so from here, stand your feet out nice and wide and just roll your arms away from the body. And then we're just going to tip the knees in towards the floor. Think less of pressing, just think more again, just letting these knees feel heavy, both sides. Dropping your knees left to right, right to left. And just notice how your pelvis is kind of doing a little twist actually. Your pelvis is turning, but your heart stays still. We're actually twisting into the spine. And we notice that one side of the body lengthens as the other side of the body shortens. Just tune into that as a movement. So getting that side waist nicely lengthened. Kind of already getting into this fascia that I was talking about from the outside edge of the knee up into that crisscross across the ribs. And we can slow this movement down. So as you let your knees fall one way, so if let's all bring our knees over to the right, and I just want you to think about your right little toe and press it into the floor. So I want you to kind of roll that right foot into the floor very gently. So bring the little toe, the next toe, the next toe, the next. I might have given you 6 toes. Big toe presses in. Let your left knee float up and then let your knees fall to the left. And then we're going to bring the little toe, the left foot, the next, the middle, the next, the big toe. As that knee stands up, the right knee floats up and then let your knees go to the right. So just think of pushing from your outer foot to bring both knees up and letting them fall the other way. So letting the ground forces assist you in the movement. Lovely. Okay. So settling down, bringing your feet back to center. And just let your knees stand up again so your feet are on the floor. And then just taking your right hand behind your head. And then roll your tailbone into the floor so that lower back floats up again. And then this time we're going to begin to press that right shoulder into the floor, draw the shoulder blade down the back body. Pull the belly button into the spine so that lower back begins to flatten. And then we're going to just lift up that right elbow and start to guide it over towards the left knee. Slowly does it. Bend the left knee in towards the body and you're curling that right elbow over towards the left knee. Squeeze the knee in and then slowly, slowly unwind. Let that right elbow come back to the floor. Let the left foot find the floor. Press the right elbow back. And then now you've got that elbow back in the floor and that tailbone's in the floor and that lower back's floated up. Slide your left foot all the way out in front of you. Press out through the heel. So almost like you're yawning into that left foot. And then bring that left foot back in, stand it up, and then from the navel, pull it in towards the spine, curling over towards the left knee. Bring that left knee in. And then slowly unwind, bring the elbow back to the floor. Shoulder blade draws down the back, press that right elbow back, tailbone goes into the floor, lower back floats up, and then slide that left foot out in front of you again. Just imagine yawning into that left hip, left tummy, and then slide the left foot back in, navel comes in towards the spine, curling over towards the left knee. Inhaling, coming back down, right elbow finds the floor, arch the lower back, slide the left foot back in, away, and then bring both feet in and just drop your hands down by your side. And then take your left hand behind the head, elbow drops towards the floor. We're going to inhale, arch the spine, pressing that left elbow back and just tug the shoulder blade down the back. So we're squeezing those muscles up the back, left side. And then slowly from the belly button, pull it in so the back flattens. So I want you to feel that you're initiating this curl from the tummy, curling over towards the right knee. Coming back down, let the tummy muscles relax. Right foot finds the floor, arch the spine, and then you're going to push that right leg away, slide the heel away. Lower back is arched. Sliding that right foot back up, and then navel comes in. Feeling yourself beginning to curl over to the right, left elbow comes over towards the right knee. Inhaling, coming back down, right foot finds the floor, arch the spine, slide the foot away. So hope you get into this sense that this kind of could feel like an undulation. Lower back comes into the floor, curling over. And just final one, slide that foot away. And just bring your knees in towards your belly now and just take your hands onto the knees and just push your knees away, bring your knees in. think it's about time we got off our backs, considering this is meant to be a dynamic lesson, isn't it? So find a way to roll to seated, and we're going to come down onto tummy. So you might roll over. There's one big movement, and then come down onto your belly. I'm having a fight with my mat again. Right, sorry. So settling down. Bring your hands out. I'd kind of say like a press up position. Don't have them too close in. Have them quite away from the body. Wrists roughly under elbows, elbows roughly in line with shoulders. Go with comfort rather than precision. And drop your forehead onto the floor. And we're just going to begin this movement with our right shoulder. I want you to roll it down towards your spine. Squeeze it down towards your back hip. And just notice that that right side of the chest floats up. And I want you just to slowly lift your head and turn your head so you're looking towards your right arm. Let go of that movement so you soften back down to the floor. And just do it a few times. So you're going to squeeze that right shoulder in, let it lift the head, look down towards your right arm, and then softly return to the floor. Just let your body kind of turn with it. You might feel as you're doing this that the right hip begins to squeeze towards your right shoulder. Let it do it. So we're lengthening that left side by squeezing the right side. So again, lift the shoulder, squeeze it in, looking down. And kind of tune into the sensations down by your right knee as you do this. Do you think you could turn your right knee out and begin to slide your right knee up towards your right hip or your right elbow? And then as you release, slowly return down onto your tummy. So that knee bit is a little option. So squeeze the right shoulder, look in, and you might feel the knee beginning to slide. Let it slide up. And we're not asking for gymnastics. It might be a small little movement. So again, the direction and where you bring that knee is unimportant. I just want you to feel that ability from the center to bring the knee up and to relax it down. Shall we just do it one more time? And then relax, go the other way. So start with your left shoulder, roll it down and towards your spine and towards your bottom. Let your head lift, look towards your left shoulder, and again, settle down. So again, squeeze the left shoulder, feel that your head begins to lift, turning your head, looking towards your wrist, the arm, whatever, and again, settle down. Just do it again a few more times and maybe start to sense what's happening down by your left hip. Feel what's happening down in that left hip, the left leg. Can we kind of feel that hip squeezing up towards the left armpit? And we can maybe then start to let that left knee begin to slide and then let it go as we come back down to the floor. So squeezing the shoulder, feeling the hip, feeling that little tug of the leg, let that leg begin to slide up and again, settle back down. So let's bring the right shoulder back into this little party, roll it up. And again, if the leg wants to come up, let it come up. Look into the left shoulder. Can we let that left knee slide up again? So again, that is just a little option. It might be that you're kind of doing a bit of a dancing cobra with your head and your shoulders. Your legs might not be wanting to play. That's absolutely fine. Think of this like, being almost effortless. There is some effort. I feel the effort in the arms, not necessarily the legs. Okay, so I think we've played with that enough. Settle down, bringing your hands onto underneath your head and let your elbows find the floor. And we're going to bend our knees now. So have those knees pointing to, not the knees pointing to the ceiling. That would be incredible. You'd be in a really crazy pose, wouldn't you? Your feet point to the ceiling. And just drop both feet over to the right. Just let your pelvis kind of roll with it. So that left hip floats up. And then bring them to center and take your feet over to the left. So that right side of the body begins to float up. Well, not body, hip. Bring your feet over to the right. Left hip begins to turn. Feet over to the left. We can feel the right hip begin to turn. So just, maybe think of your feet being like little windscreen wipers and let it wag your tail. And then bring your knees together, pause, bring your knees together and do it again. And so as you take your feet over to the right this time, let your left leg come away from the floor. And then roll back to center. And then take your feet over to the left and let your right leg kind of come away from the floor. Bring your feet to center. Let right feet over to the right. Left knee comes off the floor. So you're feeling your pelvis turning. And again, I'm not asking for precision. Feet don't have to come to the floor. The feet might not stay completely still. And that's perfectly fine. When you're ready, we're going to bring ourselves back to our little press-up position. So find those hands on the floor again. Here's the fun's going to begin. We're going to roll that right shoulder blade down the back and take the knees over to the left, just pushing into that right hand. Can we begin to lift up a little bit? And then bend the arms, come back down. And do it again. Right shoulder blade goes down the back, taking those feet over to the left, push with your right hand, begin to float up. Bending the arms, we come back down. And again, just do it again. You know, maybe the next time you do it, push with your left hand, kind of coming up a little bit more. Coming back down. Do that a few times. And start to wonder, if you were to take your right foot a little bit further behind you and you pushed into those hands, could you start to sit up? And then kind of see how you feel about sitting up. And then bring your hands back down and lay back down. So when you're ready, right shoulder, take that right foot a little bit further back. Can we push to seated? When we come to seated, we could carry on spiraling, bringing the hands all the way over to the right and looking over the right shoulder. And then kind of unwind, bring those hands back to the floor. Take your time to come down. And then start to play with that. How would it feel to do it? If we find it an easy movement. Imagine you could get out of bed like this in the morning to answer the phone, whoever's decided to ring in a lesson. And then we can settle down again, can't we? And think, oh, I've got another leg. Yes, you have. So again, taking your legs over to the left, to the right this time. And starting to push into that left hand. So again, roll the left shoulder blade down. The legs come over to the right, push again, inquire how it is to come up to seated a little bit. So you're just pushing with that left hand to start with. And then as you take yourself over to the right, just take that left leg a little further back and push with your right hand, starting to, again, get this idea that we could come towards seated. So you're just going to take that left leg a little further behind the right foot. And again, can we come to seated? And then starting to inquire about coming into a twist, bringing both hands over to the left, looking over the left shoulder, and again, spiral down. So the left leg goes behind the right foot. Can we spiral to seated? And again, some of this might be kind of a little bit painful. You can always just come up a little bit and you don't always have to go into the main event. And then we could go both ways, maybe come down, go the other way. Come down, go the other way. Just let your head kind of do a little circle. Don't let your head come to the floor. Feel like a little spring, don't you? Very energetic. I was wondering why my arms were hurting the other day, and I think it's because I was doing this. And then the next time you come to seated, stay up. Whee. Right. So, have we woken up now? I think we haven't we? I do love that. So taking yourself over onto all fours, placing your hands somewhere comfortable. Again, make sure that your hands are comfy. You can turn them out, you can go onto fist, whatever feels good. And tuck your toes under and take an inhale. Look down towards your knees. Imagine that, you know, there's something between your legs that you need to, that sounds really weird, that's on the wall behind you that you need to see. you know, feel your belly button pulling into the spine, feel the spine arching, and then look in between your knees, between your hands, look towards the floor in front of you, look all the way up to your ceiling. Imagine there's something on your ceiling that you really need to see. It's just above your head. And again, looking down, imagine there's something just higher than your sit bones behind you on the wall that you need to see. And again, just looking at spreading movement through our little cat-cow. So as you bring yourself into cat-cow next, guide your right knee in towards your nose. And then as you look forwards and up to your ceiling, guide that right knee back. And then again, inhaling, looking down to the knee. Exhaling, extending the leg up and back. Again, keep looking to the ceiling. So I want that spine to follow the movement. And then let's take that right foot up and back and swing it to the left and bring it behind the left knee. So those knees close. And then let's think about taking our bottom down towards the heels behind you. So that left knee begins to float up, looking down towards the knee. And again, you're going for comfort here. Looking up, lift your tailbone, coming back towards all fours. Take that right knee out and again, guide it in towards your nose. Inhaling, taking the right knee up and back, cross it behind the left, bring the knee in and start to look down towards your knee. So that left knee begins to float up. Looking up towards the ceiling, let the left knee come back to the floor. Take the right leg up as you look to the ceiling and again, exhaling, bringing the right knee in towards the nose. Exhale, looking up and back, bring the right leg behind the left. And again, how does it feel to take a little seat? Looking up, knee comes to floor, tailbone lifts. Guiding in one more time. Extend the foot up, bring it across and start to walk in. So you can take your hands in maybe this time. It might not serve you to come all the way into a little seated pose. So it could be that you're just kind of going to rock back and forth at this point, you know, just explore the knee, explore the hips. But if you're happy to take a seat, take a seat. So here we can sit like this if it's comfortable, but we might be taking one leg out if that is more comfortable. So again, go with comfort rather than positioning, I'd say. And then taking your right hand onto the floor, take your left hand out. Take the gaze up to the thumbs. Begin to rest into your right hand, bend the right elbow and guide yourself over, looking at the left middle finger. And just let your breath do something magical. Let that breath work into those ribs. Think less of striving, think more of how it feels to rest into that right hand. Feel the resistance, have a little bounce of that right hand in the floor. Feeling that safety of the right hand. And then let's place those hands back down to the floor and uncross the right leg. And then take an in-breath, looking down towards that space behind you again. And as you inhale, look all the way up to your ceiling and lifts. Do that a few times. So we now know what's coming, don't we? So again, whenever you're ready, as you lift your gaze to the ceiling, I'm just going to make sure I don't kick anything behind me. Take your left leg up and look down towards your knee. Inhaling, taking that left leg up and then you cross it behind your right. And then look down to your knees, take your bottom down towards your heels behind you. To come out, look up, lift your tailbone, come back to all fours, lift the leg and guide it in. Extend the leg back, cross it over, bring it to the floor, look down towards the knees, let your weight shift back. So this right knee is floating up this time. As you look forwards and lift your tailbone, you come back up to all fours, lift the leg, exhale, bring it in. I've switched my breath, I think I've noticed, but go with what feels right. leg comes across, again, sink down. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, knee comes in. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, cross it back, take a seat. And then maybe on this next one, we can think about taking a seat there permanently, but it might not suit you, like I say. So if it feels comfortable, begin to walk those hands in. And again, if it doesn't feel comfortable, you could maybe just keep walking backwards and forwards. So again, you've got to go with what feels right. But if you're happy to walk in, take a seat, knees ping up. And again, you've got to be honest with yourself. Does it feel better to have the left leg out in front of you so that right leg is crossed over? Again, have a little inquire. Taking your left hand to the floor by your side, so stay on tented fingers. Right hand moves out, and then explore raising the arm. Feeling the right side beginning to elongate. So we're just tuning into these ribs, begin to bend your left hand, left arm, so we can begin to extend over. And again, just play with that push from on that left hand. Feel the security, and then let your breath move through those ribs. So bring your hands back, settle down, and tuck your toes under. And use your hands to walk into your knees and start to roll towards crouching. So your knees are going to come back down, walking your hands forwards, walking in. And we could even explore coming all the way forwards, couldn't we? We've not done any planks in this lesson. So you can always come a little bit forward, dropping into kneeling plank. And then use your hands to push yourself all the way back. And again, you could maybe come into kneeling plank. You could even lift your knees, push your heels away, coming into full plank. And then from here, drop your knees and walk yourself back. So have a little play, make this your own. Again, remembering, if you can remember that far back, backs and knees, when you're doing your plank, don't really push those knees too far back here. As you're coming into your plank, I want you just to think about the curves you're feeling. So if you are doing that full plank, from the backs of your heels, backs of your knees, lumbar curve, back of the neck, we keep those curves in place. And then we can drop those knees back. So that again comes back to the idea of that back line of fascia, that if any of those curves are either too flat or something, we can, we're kind of going, doing too much with that fascia, we can end up overstretching it, I would say. So again, keep those little curves in place. So let's move towards coming to standing. So rolling into your feet, and then pushing with, I'm going to put your hands on your knees, you don't have to do that. Push with your feet so you can come into a bit of a crouchy fold. So as you come into a crouchy fold, just maybe, make sure your feet are supportive underneath you, that they're in a good position. They might be turned out, they might not be. Your belly's on your thighs, let your head drop forwards, and then from here, start to feel the push of your feet. Just for a moment, kind of feel that you're pushing into your feet into the floor, and feel how, as you push into the feet, you can kind of feel that movement from the floor can drive you to standing. And so just start to slow that movement down. Start to slowly push into the floor and curl up to standing. It sounds ridiculous that I was going to say I really love that feeling. It's such a nice feeling, kind of to work out the mechanics of standing. We spend a lot of time kind of like using our back to stand up, when actually a lot of that movement comes from your feet. Anyway, so stand, I should say. And just make sure that you've got nice space between your feet. Keep your knees nice and soft. And picture between your heels, you've got a little dot on the floor. We're not gonna bring the heel to the dot, but I want you to kind of imagine that you could. But now imagine that your feet are glued. You can't move them, but you're going to try to squeeze your right heel towards this dot. So we're going to soften the knees first. I don't know why I'm shaking my hips. I think it's because I know that I feel nice and loose. And then try to squeeze your right heel towards this dot. And do we feel our right hip beginning to float back? Just keep doing it, and then you might even notice your right shoulder has started to turn. And then we can look right over that right shoulder and then just relax the foot and just allow that movement to come back to center. So it's just from that heel, the foot doesn't move, you squeeze the heel and just notice the movement. So this is again that spiral line of fascia. We're kind of palpating it almost, aren't we? So it's a sense of kind of wringing yourself out. Squeeze the heel, let the body turn. I quite enjoy bending the left knee as I do that. I think it feels a little bit less locked out, I'd say. And with this one, I tend to find there'll be little aches and pains that you find. So if you notice that, don't go into that place. Just kind of stop before it and then back away. And then again, thinking about the Indiana Jones analogy, sneak, slow the movement down. Could you do it? If I was to look at you, could I tell that you were moving? And just notice how the body starts to let go of the tension. So again, the more effort we put into it, then the stretch reflex, it's there going, oh, what are you doing? Slow the movement down, be gentle with yourself, and just notice then that this movement might become more available to you. So should we play with the other leg? I think we should. So again, imagine you've got glued feet to the floor. We're going to try to bring that left heel towards the right. Knees are bent. Just do it again, little movement. Notice what happens. Left hip might be moving back. So there's no squeezing anywhere else. I start to think, am I doing that with my shoulders? But I actually just notice the chest begins to turn because the left foot is doing something. And again, if you notice any places in the body that are like saying, oh, that's a bit painful, slow it down, or back away, kind of dance into it a little bit. Slow the movement down, see how it feels. You might get weird sensations in places you didn't expect. And then do both legs, just swing it out. Keep your knees bent. If you like a little dance, relax it off, and we're just gonna move towards the front of the mat. So walk towards, go to the front of your mat. So resting into your feet. Let's have a little roll, shall we? So look down towards your feet, shrug your shoulders forward, let your bottom shift back, round the spine, loose spaghetti. And from your feet, begin to roll up to standing. We're going to extend all the way back. So feel that push of your feet, feel it traveling up your legs, pelvis. Pelvis begins to tilt backwards, spine begins to lengthen, let it travel up to your heart. Notice where your shoulders have moved to. Move your tailbone back over your heels. So you're going to straighten up your pelvis. The legs begin to straighten, spine begins to straighten, taking your hands up. Want to be nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart, slide your left foot back. Actually, I just stepped mine back, but imagine you're on tramline. So everything faces the front of the mat, feet, hips, pelvis, belly. Lift your left heel, so you're on the ball of that left foot, and bend your left knee towards the floor. So you're coming down, descending, feeling then the support of your legs. Have a little bounce, not too much, obviously. Have a little look at your right knee over those toes on that left, feeling those glutes are working. You can always have a little feel and think, yes, solid buttocks, and then settle in. Breathe in here. Tune into the safety of your breath. Take your left hand and push it forwards. Notice as you do that, your chest is beginning to turn to the right, and we can then slide the right hand up over onto the right shoulder and kind of just look over to the right. So we continue that movement, that little twist. If it feels comfortable, we can push the right hand back. So we're looking to the right. Spread the fingers, wiggle the fingers. Notice how this feels through both arms. rebend the left knee. It tends to find that it wants to kind of straighten out. And then drop the hand behind you onto the, just behind, I should say, and then take the hand that's in front of you up, looking over your right shoulder. Turning your body so you're looking back towards the space in front of you. You're going to push down now with your right leg. Bring the left foot forwards. I'll just spin a little round, around again. And we're going to move into a balance. So we're going to bring that left leg up towards us, push through the left leg. So you kind of push in with the hand into the knee to keep yourself balanced. Woohoo! Right hand moves across towards the left knee. Push through. And just drop your left hand down by your side, and you're going to kind of pull the left leg towards the right, and then just see how you feel to turn your head to the left and just draw that left shoulder back a little. Releasing and stepping your left foot back, and just check that the ground is nice and supportive. You're going to bring hands then onto tummy. So we're going to come down into triangle pose. So you might have got a block nearby that might help you. It'll be in front of your right foot. And the key thing is, what we don't want to do is round or extend. So these hands are going to keep you safe. Watch the hands. Navel comes in, looking down towards your right big toe. Just make sure we haven't locked the knees before we start. And whenever you're ready, exhale, tip forwards. Keep the spine lengthened. Feel what's going on through the middle of the back. When you kind of feel that your ribs may be coming forwards or rounding, we're going to pause. Place the right hand on the right shin or the block or the ankle, wherever your arms landed. Taking your left arm out like a little aeroplane wing. And then turn the chest to the left so the left arm begins to move. And in terms of your head, have it wherever you want it to be. And then just checking your left hand, is it in a good place? Maybe it would be better on the side. Maybe it would be better behind us. Check the knees are not locked, have a little bounce, keep those knees soft. And then turning your body towards the floor, we're going to move into another little balance here. Yes, we are. So from this place, walking your hands forward so your weight drops into your right foot, and just let your left foot come away from the floor. So this is an option, kind of having these hips pointing to the floor, that left foot kind of floating. But we might explore turning the hips to the left a little bit and just let your left leg do a little dance, turning it. So the movement is from that right foot. You might be happy to begin to take your left hand off the floor and lay it on the side of the body. You might be able to float it up. And let it come down. Get your left foot into the floor. And we're going to stay in this position for a moment because we've got another little twist we can do. So we can go into Prasarita Trikonasana, so twisted Trikonasana. So keep your feet where they are. And again, you might have a block that's in front of you. This time it'll be on that left side. And I'm happy to, I like to walk the hand just kind of slightly forward of shoulders. And then take your right hand onto the lower back and push with your left hand into the floor so your chest begins to turn to the right. Take your time, just do it a few times. If you're not sure, kind of just do it a few times and feel the spiral from the hand. And you'll feel your weight going from your back foot and into your front foot. And then if you feel comfortable, let your weight go into that front foot a little bit and turn your gaze to the ceiling. And if it feels comfortable, we can raise the right hand. Turning your body back to the floor. There's another balance. We can do that with your leg off the floor. So walk your hands more forward so that weight goes into your right foot. And again, here we could just explore taking that left foot off the floor and doing nothing else. Just see how that feels. But we could If we feel comfortable, explore taking the right hand off the floor and placing it on the lower back. So let's come out of this, shall we? So leading with your left foot, bring it to the floor behind you, ping up. See how we feel about that. Whee! Moving into just a warrior position. So we're going to have that right foot turned out, left foot turned to the side. Floating your arms out. Bend your right knee, sink into warrior two. So again, have a look at your big toe in front of you. Again, have a little bounce, feel the security of that right leg. Placing your right hand on your right thigh. Turning your left palm up, we can drop it onto the side body and then bend your right arm. So we're coming into side bend. And it might be you're going to reposition the arm on the thigh, but it might be that you feel better with the hand on the thigh. And then how would it feel to raise the left hand? And maybe to sweep it overhead. Pushing with your feet back to center. Look towards the front of your mat, step yourself forwards and come back. Whew, got to remember what I did now, nightmare. So roll down again, hang nice and loose. Push into feet, let the movement float through the bones. Tailbone moves back over heels, allow the bones to stack, settle in. Sliding your right foot back. So again, toes, feet, hips forwards. Lifting the right heel and taking the right knee towards the floor, left knee bends. I always find myself kind of just shifting into this position a little bit. So what you're trying to avoid is the knee being over ankle. So think of the knee staying over the, it's knee over toe, sorry. Let the knee kind of go over the ankle and the movement is from this right hip. You want to feel that you're coming down rather than forward, so supporting. Hands to heart. Have a little bounce, feel the movement from that left foot. Driving up into the hips. So again, these are getting those glutes nicely working. Settle in. The right hand begins to push forwards. Let it turn the chest to the left. Feel the movement into the right hip. And then we can guide that left hand over onto, there you go, onto the left shoulder. And if it's comfortable, we can begin to extend the left hand out. And again, push the palms away. Imagine you're saying stop with both hands. Again, wiggle those fingers. And then check your right knee as it begins to straighten. Do we need to bend it again? Taking that left hand behind you, just let it fall. Right hand turns up, take it to the ceiling, looking over your left shoulder. Turning so your body faces the floor. Face the front of your mat, I should say. Step into your left leg, bring that right foot forwards again. Balance time. So you're going to kind of hop the foot up and hold it. Hold the leg. So you kind of want to feel that you're trying to press the leg into the body. It's going to make you feel a little bit more balanced. This little secret, I'm pulling on this leg. Taking your left hand over onto the right knee, and you're just kind of pulling that knee, whoops-a-daisy, to the midline, to the left a little. Right hand drops down by your side. I told you I'm hopeless. How do you feel to turn to look over that right shoulder? So again, just gently does it, looking slightly to the right, feel the chest turning. Releasing, let the foot come to the floor. Which way am I facing? I'm getting confused. And take your belly again, lay your hands to your belly. Just make sure those knees are nicely soft. Fold from the hips, exhale, floating forwards, looking down towards that left big toe. Feeling the spine lengthening forwards. When it feels right, take the left hand down towards your left shin, the left ankle, whatever is closest. It could be the knee. Right hand moves out like an airplane wing, and then turn the chest to the right. Again, make sure the knees hadn't chosen to lock. And then is it better to have the arm on the side body, arm behind the body? Turning your body to face the floor. Walking your weight forwards, so hands kind of little spiders, letting your weight go into your left foot. And then how would it feel to take your right foot off the floor? So again, we can stay here. Again, make sure that left knee isn't locked out. Have a little bounce from that left leg if you wish. And then explore turning your hips to the right. And it might be that you start to feel the movement from the right hip kind of moving into that right hand, and you could think, oh, I'm just going to try and place a hand on the shoulder. It might be that it doesn't want to move. You might be taking that right hand up. And then take the hand to the floor and drop your right foot into the floor behind you. And we're going to move into our little revolve triangle, she says, perhaps. So this time, your right hand again, walk it slightly forwards to the shoulders, left foot is still forward, and lay your left hand on the lower back. And again, for me, this movement is just the push. Feel as you push into that right hand, the spiral. It might be that you choose not to stay in the twist, just letting your weight shift into that left foot, feeling the spiral from that right hand into your left foot. And then if you feel comfortable, becoming more static, looking up over the shoulder. I quite like spiraling. I'm not going to stay static this time. And again, if you're spiraling, just do it gently. Feel the flow of the movement up into the shoulders. And then we have that little option to take this into a balance. So we're going to float, but bring both hands down, walk them forwards, and again, just let that weight shift into your left foot as we did before. But then this time that right hand stays on the floor. And again, it's just the exploration of pushing and just feeling how that left shoulder, actually we didn't do it last time, it begins to turn. So let's not go fully into it. And then we're going to bring the right foot down behind us. Oops, ping into standing. Left foot faces forwards, widen out your stance, turning that right foot out. Hips in the center. Arms float out, looking out beyond your left middle finger. And then begin bending your left knee. So you kind of head, heart, hips centered, moving into warrior. Have a little look towards your left big toe. Is it visible? Do you feel secure? Have a little bounce. Turning the right hand out, lay it down on the side body, and take the left hand to the thigh. Bend the left elbow whenever you're ready, beginning to move over to side bend. And again, we don't have to go any further than this. In fact, I'm not going to, but again, we've got the option of bringing elbow down, taking hand up. So again, from this movement, we're trying to again expand this whole right side body. So pushing back to center, we're going to just come to middle of the mat. This is something I was going to do earlier on. I thought, oh no, because we've just done the twisty one, it seemed a little bit soon. Resting into your feet. So imagine there's something on the shelf that you need above your head, and you're going to raise your right arm. And I guess if it was just there, you'd be able to reach it, but imagine it's just a little bit out of your grasp. So start to raise the right arm a little more. And as you do that, does your left heel begin to float up, and that left hip begin to kind of squeeze up towards the left shoulder. Let your left arm hang. And then relax. We're going to let the right arm go down. Imagine whatever it is just by your left hand, and it's just that little bit higher. So as you reach up, for me, it's a natural sensation. I can feel my weight going into that left leg. I can feel the right hip kind of squeezing up towards the right shoulder. Reach that little bit more. And then relax, just switch sides, right hand, left hip. Relax, left hand, right hip. So just feeling your hips swinging beneath you. So when we're walking, this happens naturally, the hips move. Just notice how each one moves in relation to the other one. Does it happily do it, or is it not happily doing it? And on the side that feels a little bit, you know, maybe it feels a little bit stiffer, just again, maybe slow the movement down. Maybe even play with one side a little more. And then settle to the floor. Find a way to come down. Fine. So a few little options for you now. So yeah, legs like this. So legs wide, hands to the floor behind you. Moving into one of my favorite little sequences in the world ever. So we're going to drop our knees. Let's take them to the left and just then stand them up, let them go to the right. Take your knees to the left. Take your knees to the right. Just notice that as you take your knees one way, so as you take your knees to the right, that your left hand floats up, and then you could in fact bring it around so it's on that right side. And then we could just turn our shoulders and look over the right shoulder. So turn your head, look over your right shoulder. And turn your head, look over your left shoulder. And turn your head and look over your right shoulder. And do you feel your hip doing something? That the more you look one way, the hip either floats backwards, or as you look over maybe your right shoulder, that left hip comes forwards. Do we feel that there's like an attachment between the head and the hip? I guess it is, it's called the spine, isn't it? So whatever you're doing, the ribs are shooting back, the spine shooting back. Okay, so turn yourself the other way and bring those hands over to the left. And again, just turn your head a few times and just let your hips float back. Look over the shoulder, let your hips move forwards. Kind of feeling like you're oiling your hip through your head. And then let's go all the way to the right. And then as we come over this time, imagine you've got the most luxurious mat or carpet, and you're just going to do it a little bit. Slide your left hand away a little bit. Bring it back in. And the more you take that hand away, the more the body begins to turn and move in a little diagonal position. And as you take that left hand away, you start to bow towards the floor. And as you bring the hand back in, you can come back to seated. So as you take the hand away, you bow towards the floor. And as you take the hand just through the bones, and notice how you either lay down or you come back to seated. So the hand attaches to the shoulder, attaches to the spine, and you begin to change position. And we can begin to maybe rest into this position. So maybe let's bring the right elbow down and rest and breathe some life into the left side from the little finger to the elbow into the hip. So finding a way to come back to seated and go the other way. So knees go to the left. And just spin around this time so I can keep better an eye on you. And again, feel your carpet, feel your mat. And as you take the hand away, the body turns. And as you bring the hand back in, you come back to seated. Explore, going that a little bit further. So you're going to, again, if you go somewhere that your body's not ready, it's going to recoil. So just maybe close your eyes and feel the movement. I want you to feel comfortable with the movement. And if it feels good, begin to maybe rest into your left elbow and keep the right arm extended. And again, just feel the connection between your right hand, the right elbow, the right shoulder. And that, again, that sense of diagonal through right down into your left hip, the left buttock, the right hip, the right knee. And just notice what your breath does. Changes the shape of you. You might also realize you're in some kind of crazy pigeon shape. So when you're ready, bring those hands back in, bring the knees back in and go the other way. Just have a little swing again of these knees. And then eventually, let both knees fall to the right, but you're going to straighten out your right leg. So keep the left leg, I'd say, tucked in. If it disagrees with you completely, you can always straighten out the left leg. Don't go with what, if the body's fighting it, you want it to be comfortable. So again, that's where I am these days. So if it feels wrong, left leg is straight. If it feels right, have it in. Heels of hands, have them on your right thigh and start to massage your legs. So coming back into this anatomy trains thing, if you remember, the right side of this leg is where that band of fascia is. Rub down, use your hands to get into the muscles, into the fascia, give yourself a really good massage. And just kind of noticing that wherever the arms go, again, there's a movement elsewhere, isn't it? The body is folding forwards. The left hip isn't static. You might feel the left hip floating up, in fact. And if you've got that left leg straight, you might even feel it rolling in, and that is something that you should do. Let it, don't fight it, don't keep it rigid. Let the left knee roll in if that leg is straight. And then we can begin to make this into a kind of more yogic looking movement. So we're going to take the right hand and have it on the floor. And place your left hand on your left hip. And just maybe rub your belly a little bit. It's quite nice to self-soothe, isn't it? And then we're going to just take that left hand and slide it onto the right thigh and just let it slide down towards your right foot. And then slide the left hand up towards your right hip and again back onto your belly. And we can look over the left shoulder, and as you take that left hand down towards your right foot, just notice you're actually again turning the body. We're spiraling again, looking over the left shoulder. Hand goes down towards that right foot, and just notice that your body again is beginning to turn. We're moving again into that sense of spiral. And it might be a quite nice thing to do that as you're taking that hand down towards the foot, just to start to draw the right shoulder back and look over the right shoulder. And again, spiral back up and taking the hand down and take a look over the shoulder. Let the movement go into the neck. Slow the movement down again. Think of Indiana Jones. He might actually, he'd probably do this and probably shoot somebody, wouldn't he? Feel this as a twist and not just a fold. And you're very welcome to keep moving, but you might think, you know what, I'm going to have a little rest. So if you want to have a little rest, settle down, maybe bring your hands to the floor, bring your elbows to the floor, and just let your breath anchor you again. Oh, I like that some of you aren't staying still. That's nice to see. I feel it quite like a little melody, this movement. I find it really kind of like a lullaby. So if that is floating your boat, go with it. So walking your hands back in, bring your feet back in, and then take your knees to the left, knees to the right, and then when you're ready, extend your left leg, bring your right foot back. And again, accommodate the needs of your body, straightening your right leg if that is what you need to do. Putting a cushion under your bottom if that's what you need to do. Hands to your thigh. Begin the massage. So again, just bring special attention to the outer edge of that leg. down towards the ankle. What I tend to find is my left leg is my bane in my life, and it feels numb in there sometimes, and I think that is just tightness. That is some weakness that I have observed. And I'm just getting some blood flowing to those muscles where I can feel it. And then remembering again that there is more to this movement. So I'm just now going to place this left hand down by my left hip, bring my right hand to my belly and give it a rub. And then placing it on the right hip, and then just letting the fingers of that right hand find the left leg. And again, slowly, slowly begin to take it down. Again, think of that lovely adage of non-violence, one of the first yamas that we're taught as yoga teachers and yoga students, the non-violence. So I guess the more harsh we are to the body, like I say, we get a recoil. Gently does the movement. And then starting to notice the movements that blossom from it, that we are maybe twisting. Let it twist. Take your time to start to look over your left shoulder and look over your right shoulder. Noticing the dance between your hand and your hip. So as you bring that hand back, the hip comes down. As you bring the hand towards the foot, the hip floats up. And if you've got your right leg turned out, again, that little dance with the right knee and the right foot, let it turn in. And again, this doesn't have to be a static move, but if it feels more right to you today, if you want to settle into this as a fold, sliding your hands down, come to natural rest, bring the foot around, the hand around and settle into your breath. But again, if this feels better to you to twist, just keep moving in and out of this. Again, be gentle with it. You know, let your breath kind of guide you with the movement. Even let your left leg turn if you are still twisting. You don't have to kind of take this into, you know, it doesn't have to be static even into that left hip. You're massaging into the hip. So again, the choice is yours. Settle down or don't. So walking yourself back to seated. I feel really bad you're not going to get much time for breath today, but I've got a really lovely little relaxation that I'm going to do instead. I feel like I've stolen your breath. Everybody else this week has had the whole shebang of the breath. They've had like 10 minutes of laying on the, unless you want to stay, you can. What time is it? 10 past. You can run off. I'll just do them. I'll keep time to show you've got lives other than this, haven't you? I want you to pick your favourite side to lay on, and you might need a cushion for your head, but you might be happy cradling. Let me lay on this side, so I've got my earphones on this one. So kind of, yeah, settle in. So you might, like I say, you might be laying on your side, you might be on a cushion. Just lay on your side with your knees bent, kind of that little comfort position. And we can place, you know, the upper hand on the belly and just start to breathe and just notice that hand that's resting on your belly is kind of moving forwards and drifting inwards. And just, if it feels comfortable to you, start to make your breath a little bigger. And start just, do we notice any movements in the rib cage and in the spine as we breathe? Do we feel almost, as we breathe in, like this, you know, sense of like a rocking sensation that you could almost kind of roll forwards and roll backwards? And we're not going to go with that. I just want you to feel your ribs and your belly moving the center of your body. So the leg that's on top, do we feel the breath in that top hip? You might feel it as you breathe out, actually. I feel it like almost like a little roll back. And as I breathe in, it rolls forwards. And as I breathe out, it's like a little roll back. So again, we're not moving into any rolls, but just feel that movement in that top hip, I should say. And then once we kind of attune ourselves to the movement in that top hip, do we feel it in the top knee? So you might feel a pressure change with the top knee, a kind of sense that it slides forwards and back a little. And then we might even feel it in that top foot as well. So just move your awareness down the body to your top foot. Now just picturing just at the base of where your feet are, just imagine that you're standing on a tiny little platform. And just ask yourself what it would feel like just to push down slightly with the feet and then relax. So again, a little push down with the feet and then relax, and coordinating it with your breath. Can we feel that movement flowing up through the body? And then as we exhale, relaxing that sense of push. So there's a tiny kind of 5% gentle push down with the feet as you inhale, and an exhale, just releasing that movement. Just feel that movement. You might not even realize you're pushing now. So it's kind of hopefully getting this feeling that the whole body is breathing. You might even be letting go of the push now. Just settle into the fullness of your breath. Just making sure that breath is agreeable to you. So in the next few moments, we're going to come towards seated. So just take your time. We can place a hand on the floor. We can roll into elbows and come up. Say thank you to the body. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. Oh, I wonder if my mouse is working. I don't know. Yes. No.